The alien princess said humans were weak, until soldier humans stood between her and death. But Earth was different. Its blue oceans and green lands stretched far and wide, dotted with tiny cities that sparkled like scattered gems when seen from orbit. Curious, Lyra said softly, her violet eyes scanning the surface. Such primitive creatures live here, yet they have built so much. Her advisor, an elder named Kaelrix, tilted his long, slender head. They are humans, princess, fragile, short-lived, and weak. They will never match Virelia's might. Lyra frowned. Perhaps, she said slowly. But there is something in the way they move, the way they think. I will see for myself soon enough. Below, the bustling human cities carried on unaware. A small convoy of Virelian starships descended toward the Earth's surface, the lead ship shining silver against the sunlight. Lyra's ship followed gracefully, gliding above a large human military base where Earth's soldiers waited for contact. Captain Marcus Hale stood among them, his posture rigid, eyes scanning the horizon. He had heard rumors of an alien princess visiting Earth, and that he, along with his unit, would be responsible for her protection. Marcus was a soldier born to danger. He had faced the harshest training, the roughest terrain, and the deadliest simulations Earth's military could throw at him. Yet, even he felt a small tremor of awe as the Virelian ships landed, their metal hulls gleaming like mirrors. The ramp of the lead ship extended with a smooth hiss. From it descended Lyra, regal and composed. Her purple robes shimmered in the sunlight, and her long hair glimmered like strands of amethyst. She looked down at the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Marcus stepped forward, his hand resting lightly on his holster. "Princess Lyra, I am Captain Marcus Hale. We are honored to have you here." Lyra's gaze swept over the soldiers, lingering on Marcus. She raised an eyebrow almost imperceptibly. "Honored. You speak as if humans are not weak." Marcus kept his voice steady. "We may be small, princess, but we can be strong when it matters." A soft laugh escaped Lyra, almost musical but carrying a sharp edge. "I will be the judge of that," she said. She turned gracefully and walked ahead, ignoring the guards who bowed slightly. The human base had been prepared carefully for her arrival, with Virelian translators and secure zones. Yet Marcus noticed immediately that Lyra moved differently from the Virelians he had studied in books. She was light on her feet, almost gliding, but her eyes missed nothing. Every soldier, every vehicle, every tree in the area seemed to register in her mind. "Stay alert," Marcus murmured to his team. They were veterans, but they knew better than to underestimate the Virelians. Lyra's reputation preceded her. She was not just a princess. She was a warrior in her own right, trained in combat and strategy from birth. As they approached a nearby training field, Lyra paused. "Show me your humans in action," she said, her tone curious rather than commanding. Marcus exchanged a glance with his second-in-command, Sergeant Alina Vasquez. "Are you sure, Captain?" she asked. "She may be testing us." Marcus nodded. All the more reason to show her what humans can do. The soldiers lined up, forming squads for a demonstration of tactics. They moved with precision, yet each movement carried the unpredictability that only humans could manage. Lyra watched intently, her arms crossed. Then came the test. Marcus had prepared a small simulation, something that would show their ability to think under pressure. Several human soldiers would pretend to be injured while others defended them from a surprise ambush. "Attack!" Marcus shouted. From the tree line, automated drones appeared, moving faster than the eye could follow. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, impressed at the coordination, but she did not speak. Marcus and his squad reacted immediately, using cover, distraction, and quick maneuvers. One of the drones targeted a fellow soldier and Marcus dove, pulling the man out of harm's way. Sparks flew, alarms rang, and smoke filled the air. Lyra's lips parted slightly. "Interesting," she murmured. "The humans adapt." Despite being outnumbered in the simulation, Marcus' squad used the terrain, clever traps, and quick thinking to overcome the drones. One by one, the drones were disabled and the simulation ended with Marcus standing at the center, chest heaving but victorious. Lyra stepped closer, her gaze fixed on him. "You risked yourself for them?" she asked, incredulous. Marcus met her eyes steadily. "It's what we do. We protect each other, that is what makes us strong." A long pause followed. Lyra looked at the ground, then back at Marcus. "I did not expect this," she admitted quietly. "Humans are unpredictable." The day continued with more demonstrations. Marcus showed hand-to-hand combat techniques, teamwork drills, and survival skills. Each display seemed to challenge Lyra's assumptions more than the last. By the time the sun began to set over the base, she was no longer dismissive. She was curious, intrigued, even a little impressed, but curiosity soon turned to concern. As night fell, alarms blared across the base. Unidentified intruders had breached the perimeter. Marcus didn't hesitate. He barked orders, moving his unit into position to defend the princess. From the shadows, strange mercenary drones attacked, firing non-lethal plasma rounds meant to incapacitate, not kill. Humans darted and dodged, using their training and quick thinking to protect the princess and themselves. Marcus intercepted a drone that had slipped past the main defense, smashing it with a makeshift weapon. Lyra watched in amazement. "You fight even when outnumbered?" she asked, voice almost breathless. Marcus gave a tight nod. "We do what we must." Suddenly, one of the mercenaries leapt toward Lyra, aiming to grab her. Marcus reacted instinctively, throwing himself between the attacker and the princess. A brief struggle ensued, and Marcus emerged victorious, but not without a scratch along his arm. Lyra's eyes widened, and for the first time she seemed shaken. "You risk yourself so easily," she said, almost in disbelief. Marcus simply nodded. "If it's to protect someone, yes." The intruders were quickly neutralized and the base returned to calm. Soldiers checked equipment, reassured each other, and tended to minor injuries. Lyra stood quietly, absorbing everything she had witnessed. As she gazed at Marcus, a small smile touched her lips. It was rare for her to smile without thought or calculation. "Perhaps," she said softly, "humans are not as weak as I believed." Marcus glanced at her, noticing the shift in her expression. "Strength comes in many forms, Princess," he said, "not just in technology or numbers." Lyra's eyes reflected the flickering lights of the base. "I may have underestimated you," she admitted. Marcus merely shrugged. "Then maybe tomorrow you will see even more." The night settled over the base. Stars glimmered in the sky, and the alien princess stood silently, deep in thought. For the first time, she wondered what humans could truly achieve if given the chance, not as subjects to observe, but as equals to challenge, inspire, and perhaps even lead. The encounter had begun, but neither Lyra nor Marcus could foresee just how far it would go. A single day had already shattered expectations, and the story of humans and Virelians was only beginning to unfold. The next morning, the sun rose over the human base, painting the horizon in shades of gold and orange. Princess Lyra woke in her quarters, the events of the previous night still fresh in her mind. She could not stop thinking about the human soldier, Marcus Hale, who had risked his life without hesitation to protect her. "They are stronger than I thought," she murmured to herself, pacing slowly, "not in body but in spirit." Her personal advisor, Xtra, floated into the room, his long robe swaying like a gentle wave. "Princess, your thoughts betray curiosity," he said softly. "You have begun to see humans differently." Lyra nodded, her eyes narrowing in thought. "Yes, I underestimated them, but it is not enough to witness one act. Strength must be measured in many ways. I want to see how they perform under pressure when every choice counts." Xtra inclined his head. "Then you must observe their true abilities. There is a way to test them, though it will not be easy." Lyra's interest was piqued. "Tell me more." Kaelrix explained that Violia had designed a sophisticated combat simulation for the princess to observe. It was a controlled environment where human soldiers could face artificial threats mimicking alien technology. The simulation was used to train Violian warriors, but humans had never been tested in it before. "That will be interesting," Lyra said, her lips curling in a faint smile. "Show me what humans can do in a challenge designed to defeat even Violian soldiers." Marcus stood nearby, unaware of the full plan. He had been briefed that the princess wanted to observe human capabilities, but the scale of the simulation was far larger than he expected. Soldiers and equipment were assembled, and a large field was prepared with obstacles, mock weapons, and robotic enemies that could think and react like living beings. "Today, we show her what we can do," Marcus said quietly to his unit, his tone firm but calm. "Remember, it is not about strength. It is about skill, teamwork, and thinking ahead." The simulation began with a countdown. Lights flickered, alarms buzzed, and mechanical enemies appeared from hidden positions. Marcus' team moved instantly, splitting into squads, communicating silently with hand signals and adapting to each new threat. Princess Lyra watched with intense interest. Her eyes tracked every movement, every decision. The humans were slower than Violians, yes, but they were unpredictable. They used the environment creatively, turning obstacles into shields, using smoke and mirrors to confuse enemies, and always protecting each other. A robotic enemy targeted a soldier on the far side of the field. Marcus did not hesitate. He ran, sliding behind cover and tossing a small device that emitted a pulse, temporarily disabling the robot. The soldier he saved nodded in thanks and immediately returned to the fight. Lyra's expression changed from curiosity to fascination. "They are clever," she whispered. "They do not rely on raw strength. They rely on their minds and each other." The simulation grew more complex. Robotic enemies became faster, smarter, and more aggressive. Human soldiers were forced into situations where they could not simply fight. They had to think, adapt, and improvise. Marcus noticed one of the soldiers, Private Jalen, struggling against multiple enemies at once. Without hesitation, Marcus sprinted forward, pulling Jalen to safety. In a swift motion, he used the terrain to trap the robots, turning the environment itself into a weapon. Lyra's violet eyes widened. She could not believe what she was seeing. "They care for each other even when it puts themselves in danger," she said softly. "That is a type of strength I did not expect." Kaelrix observed quietly, noting the princess's reaction. "Yes, princess. Humans are not strong like Violians in terms of body or technology. But their bravery, creativity, and loyalty are unmatched." The simulation reached its climax when Marcus' squad found themselves surrounded. The mechanical enemies had outflanked them, cutting off their usual escape routes. Every soldier was tense, aware that one wrong move could lead to failure. Marcus took a deep breath. "Listen," he said quietly, his voice calm but commanding. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not outsmarted. Follow my lead. Move together, stay aware, and we can win this." The soldiers nodded, trusting their captain completely. They moved as one, a single unit, shifting, dodging, and countering each attack. Marcus directed them to create diversions, trap the enemies, and protect the weakest members of the group. Lyra could not look away. She felt a strange sensation building inside her, a mixture of admiration, disbelief, and curiosity. "Perhaps humans are not weak," she whispered, almost to herself. As the final wave of mechanical enemies approached, Marcus devised a daring plan. Using smoke grenades, reflective surfaces, and careful timing, he created the illusion that his squad was in multiple places at once. The robots became confused, attacking the wrong positions and ultimately disabling themselves in a cascade of errors. The simulation ended. Marcus and his soldiers stood victorious, breathing heavily but smiling in relief. Lyra stepped forward, her usual composure slightly shaken. She had never seen anything like this. "You survived every challenge," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "Not because you were stronger, but because you were smarter, faster, and braver. You think differently from Violins. You adapt." Marcus wiped sweat from his brow. "It's not about being stronger. It's about using what we have, protecting each other, and never giving up." Lyra nodded slowly, processing the truth of his words. "And yet," she said thoughtfully, "you are human, fragile in ways my people are not, and still you are formidable, fascinating." Kaelrix watched silently. He had never seen Lyra so openly impressed. "Princess, it is clear that humans possess a type of strength we Violins often overlook. It is not measured in power or skill alone, but in courage, loyalty, and ingenuity." Lyra's gaze returned to Marcus, studying him intently. "You are not like the others," she said. "You lead by example, risk yourself for others, and turn disadvantage into advantage. You are remarkable." Marcus shrugged modestly. "We do what we must, that is all." The day ended with the humans receiving praise for their performance, though Lyra's thoughts remained elsewhere. She could not stop thinking about the human captain who had led his team with courage and intelligence beyond expectation. That night, as the base quieted and the stars shone brightly, Lyra stood on the balcony of her quarters. Her mind replayed every moment of the simulation, the risks Marcus had taken, the strategies his team had employed, the unwavering determination in their eyes. "They are truly different," she whispered to the night sky. "Not weaker, not inferior, stronger in ways I am only beginning to understand." Back in his quarters, Marcus could not sleep either. Though he did not know it, he had left a lasting impression on the alien princess. She had witnessed not just his skill as a soldier, but his dedication, courage, and the human spirit that refused to surrender even when faced with overwhelming odds. Lyra returned to her advisor the next morning, her expression thoughtful but resolved. "Kaelrix, humans are capable. I must learn more from them. They are not merely subjects to observe. They are potential allies, perhaps even equals." Kaelrix inclined his head, a faint smile on his face. "It seems, Princess, that your perspective has begun to shift." The test was more than a demonstration of skill. It was a lesson in humility and understanding. Lyra's eyes sparkled with determination. "Yes, and I will not underestimate them again. Captain Marcus, he is not like the others. He is extraordinary. I must see what more humans can do when pushed to their limits." Meanwhile, Marcus continued his routine, unaware of the full impact he had made. He trained, led drills, and prepared for the next challenge, focused on duty as always. But something had changed. The alien princess no longer regarded humans as weak. She had begun to see them as unpredictable, resourceful, and, above all, courageous. Little did both of them know, the next challenge would come sooner than expected. A new threat loomed on the horizon, one that would test not only the humans' skill and bravery, but also the bond forming between a fragile human soldier and a powerful alien princess. The encounter that began as curiosity had grown into a test of strength, character, and potential. And the story of humans proving their worth in a galaxy that doubted them was only beginning. The morning air on Violia was crisp and sharp, carrying the scent of exotic flowers and the faint hum of the city's energy grids. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of her temporary quarters, her violet eyes scanning the sprawling crystalline city below. The events on Earth weighed heavily on her mind. Humans, fragile, short-lived creatures, had displayed courage, intelligence, and loyalty that rivaled even the most disciplined Violian soldiers. Yet, Lyra could not shake the feeling that all was not well. She had sensed tension in the Violian court ever since she returned from Earth. Whispers of discontent among the nobles, secret meetings in shadowed corridors, and subtle tests of her authority hinted that someone might be plotting against her. Kaelrix, her advisor, floated silently beside her. "Princess, "Your instincts are correct," he said gravely. "There are factions within the court who see you as weak for considering humans as equals. They believe your admiration for them threatens the traditional order." Lyra's jaw tightened. "They do not understand strength," she said. "I have seen strength in humans that they cannot comprehend, but if they intend to act, I must be ready." Meanwhile, on Earth, Marcus Hale and his team were conducting routine drills at the human base. He had received a direct transmission from Princess Lyra requesting additional training for her security detail. She wanted him and his unit to demonstrate not only physical prowess, but also strategic thinking in real-world scenarios. Marcus considered it unusual. Virean nobles rarely trusted humans with such responsibilities, but he did not question her motives. "She wants to see how we handle unexpected threats," he said to Sergeant Elena Vasquez. "That's a challenge we can meet." Back on Virelia, the palace was a hive of secrecy. One faction of nobles, led by Lord Veranes, had long resented Lyra's growing openness toward humans. They believed that aligning with a weaker species would undermine the Empire's superiority. Late into the night, Veranes met with several conspirators in hidden chambers. "The princess trusts humans too much," Veranes whispered, his sharp eyes glinting in the dim light. "We cannot allow this. If she is removed, the Empire will be secure and our supremacy preserved." The conspirators nodded, their faces masked with grim determination. They planned to assassinate Lyra during the upcoming public ceremony, a celebration of her diplomatic achievements with Earth. Their agents would infiltrate the palace, and no one would suspect the attack until it was too late. The day of the ceremony arrived. The palace courtyard was filled with dignitaries, soldiers, and guests from across Virelia and Earth. Lyra, adorned in ceremonial robes of violet and silver, moved with grace, her presence commanding attention. Yet beneath her calm exterior, her senses were alert. She had learned to trust her instincts, honed during countless exercises with humans. Marcus and his team were stationed nearby, tasked with ensuring her safety. Though he did not yet know the depth of the conspiracy, Marcus remained vigilant, scanning the crowd for anything unusual. As the ceremony began, Lyra greeted the assembled guests, offering words of unity and respect for the alliance with humans. Applause echoed through the courtyard, and for a moment everything seemed perfect. Then, without warning, chaos erupted. Explosions rocked the far side of the courtyard, sending debris flying. Alarms blared and the crowd panicked. Smoke filled the air, reducing visibility to near zero. "Princess," Marcus shouted, sprinting toward her side. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "We are under attack," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. She moved quickly, following the training she had received on Earth. From the shadows, armed mercenaries, human-like but enhanced with advanced Virean technology, emerged, targeting Lyra directly. Marcus did not hesitate. He threw himself in front of the princess, using his body as a shield while returning fire with precision and controlled force. The courtyard became a battlefield. Marcus' unit moved as one, covering every angle, protecting the princess and neutralizing threats. The human soldiers' unpredictability proved invaluable. They used debris, smoke, and reflective surfaces to confuse the attackers, turning the environment into an advantage. Lyra watched in amazement. Marcus was everywhere at once, a blur of courage and skill. He shielded her from attacks that could have ended her life within seconds. She realized, with a mix of awe and disbelief, that humans were not just brave, they were extraordinary when pushed to their limits. One of the attackers lunged at Lyra with a plasma blade. Marcus reacted instinctively, grabbing her arm and throwing her behind a barricade. The attacker stumbled, allowing Marcus to subdue him with a well-placed strike. "You risk yourself for me," Lyra said quietly, her voice tinged with shock. Marcus met her gaze, sweat running down his face but his expression calm. "It's my duty," he said simply. "And because it's the right thing to do." The battle raged on. Marcus' unit faced overwhelming odds, but their coordination, quick thinking, and determination kept the princess safe. Every soldier moved with purpose, covering each other, adapting to every new threat, and refusing to give ground. Lyra found herself acting instinctively, too. She had learned much from Marcus and his team during their time on Earth. She directed guards to key positions, helped identify weak points in the attacker's formation, and even used her knowledge of Virelian technology to disable some of the mercenaries' devices. Caelrix observed from a distance, impressed by the princess's composure under pressure. "She is learning fast," he murmured. "Humans have taught her more than any Virelian mentor ever could." Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, the attackers were neutralized. Marcus and his team stood victorious, breathing heavily but alert, ensuring the princess's safety until reinforcements arrived. Lyra stepped forward, her violet eyes meeting Marcus. For the first time, her expression was one of pure respect, free from doubt or skepticism. "You saved my life," she said. "I underestimated humans, underestimated you. I see now strength is not just in power. It is in courage, in loyalty, in heart." Marcus nodded, still tense but relieved. "It's what we do. Humans survive by protecting each other. That's how we grow strong." The palace recovered slowly from the attack. Security protocols were reviewed, the conspirators exposed, and the threat neutralized. Lyra's trust in Marcus and in humans was now unshakable. That night she stood on the balcony again, looking out over the city. The stars were bright and clear, and the events of the day replayed in her mind. Marcus had risked everything for her, and she knew that no Virelian soldier, no matter how skilled, could have matched his courage and ingenuity. Caelrix approached silently. "Princess, you have witnessed something extraordinary today. Humans are not weak as you once believed. They possess qualities that even Virelians cannot match." Lyra nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, and I must learn from them, not just to protect myself, but to understand the true potential of humans. They are remarkable." Meanwhile, Marcus returned to his quarters, unaware of the deep impression he had made on the alien princess. He cleaned his equipment, tended to minor injuries, and reflected on the day's events. Though he had faced danger countless times, protecting Lyra had been different. He had felt the weight of responsibility not just for his team, but for someone whose life depended entirely on his actions. The following days were filled with debriefings, planning sessions, and careful reflection. Lyra observed every detail, learning not only from Marcus' physical skill but also from his decision-making, his leadership, and his unwavering commitment to those he protected. She began to see humans differently. They were not fragile or weak. They were resilient, adaptable, and courageous. And in that realization she felt something unexpected: hope. Hope that humans, with their unique strengths, could stand alongside Virelia in the challenges to come. Hope that one day, the galaxy would recognize the true value of these unlikely allies. But as Lyra and Marcus grew closer, and as trust deepened between humans and Virelians, the shadow of betrayal still lingered. Lord Veranes and his faction had not given up. They watched from the shadows, waiting for another opportunity, plotting to strike when least expected. The next challenge would come not from simulation or training, but from the very halls of power within Virelia itself. And when it arrived, Marcus would have to stand not just as a soldier, but as the shield between the princess and death. The story of humans proving their worth was far from over. The test of courage, loyalty, and ingenuity had only just begun. The Virelian palace was quiet, but tension hummed in every corner. Princess Lyra had returned from the ceremony with her thoughts heavy. She could no longer deny the truth she had witnessed on Earth. Humans were not weak. They were resourceful, brave, and unyielding. And the human captain, Marcus Hale, had proven himself more extraordinary than anyone she had ever met. Lyra stood in her private chamber, examining a holographic map of the palace. Caelrix hovered beside her, his expression solemn. "Princess, the conspiracy is not over," he said. "Lord Varanes and his followers are still at large. They will attempt to destabilize your authority again. We must be prepared." Lyra clenched her fists. "Then we will not wait for them to strike. We will act first if necessary. I have learned much from humans, Caelrix. Their strategies, their adaptability, we can use those lessons here." Meanwhile, Marcus and his team had been briefed on the threat. Though he did not know all the details, he understood enough. The palace was no longer safe, and the princess could be targeted again. He checked his equipment, ensuring that every weapon, every tool, and every piece of armor was ready. His soldiers looked to him for guidance, and he felt the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. Lyra called for a private meeting with Marcus. When he entered, she studied him intently, as if weighing every decision he might make. "You have done more than defend me," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You have shown me what humans are capable of, and I need your help again." Marcus inclined his head. "Whatever you need, Princess. My team and I are ready." Lyra moved to the holographic map, tracing the layout of the palace with a delicate finger. "There are areas controlled by the conspirators," she explained. "They plan to use secret passages to strike when we least expect it. I need someone who can think quickly, adapt, and protect me if danger appears. That person is you." Marcus nodded. "I understand. We will move carefully, predict their actions, and respond to any threat. You will be safe." The plan was set. Marcus and his soldiers would accompany Lyra through the palace, identifying vulnerabilities, reinforcing security points, and preparing contingencies. Lyra insisted on learning from their methods, observing how they moved, how they calculated risks, and how they used both strategy and improvisation to maintain control. The next day, Lyra and Marcus began their inspection. They moved through the palace corridors, the crystal walls reflecting their careful steps. Marcus demonstrated techniques humans used to secure vulnerable areas, how to set traps for intruders, and how to anticipate attacks even before they happened. Lyra watched closely, absorbing every detail. She realized that human strength lay not in their bodies but in their minds. Every decision, every tactic, every movement was calculated, adaptive, and precise. Unlike Virelians, who relied heavily on technology and predetermined strategies, humans could improvise, respond, and think unpredictably in the moment. "This is remarkable," Lyra said quietly. "Your species does not depend on superiority alone. You adapt, improvise, and survive. You make the impossible possible." Marcus gave a small smile. "That's what humans do. We survive by thinking, by helping each other, and by refusing to give up no matter the odds." Their inspection continued, and Lyra began to participate actively. She learned to move silently, observe patterns of movement, and anticipate threats. Marcus guided her patiently, encouraging her to trust her instincts and use her own abilities alongside the humans' tactics. By midday, Lyra had a new understanding of what humans could achieve. She realized that her previous assumptions about their fragility, weakness, and inferiority were completely wrong. Humans possessed a strength that Virelians often overlooked, the strength to endure, to think creatively, and to risk everything for the sake of others. As they reached the palace garden, a sudden alarm rang out. Lyra froze, her heart racing. Marcus reacted instantly, positioning himself between her and the source of the threat. From the shadows, armed intruders, loyal to Lord Varanes, emerged, moving quickly to capture or harm the princess. Marcus' soldiers responded immediately, taking defensive positions, protecting Lyra and neutralizing threats with precision and coordination. Lyra realized that she was witnessing the very thing she had learned from humans: bravery and adaptability under pressure. Marcus moved with a confidence and determination that inspired everyone around him. Every attack he blocked, every decision he made kept her safe. "You are fearless," Lyra said under her breath, watching him in awe, "even when outnumbered, even when the situation is dire." Marcus' eyes met hers briefly. "It's not fearlessness," he said quietly. "It's choosing to act despite fear. It's knowing what must be done and doing it." The fight escalated, with the intruders using advanced technology to challenge the humans. But Marcus and his team adapted quickly, using their surroundings, improvising traps and protecting each other at every turn. Lyra assisted where she could, employing what she had learned from observing humans, directing guards, and taking advantage of openings in the attackers' formation. The battle reached its climax when one of the intruders gained the upper hand, targeting Lyra directly with a weapon designed to bypass conventional defenses. Marcus saw the attack and acted without hesitation. He leapt, placing himself squarely between the princess and danger, blocking the weapon and ensuring her safety. Lyra's heart pounded. She realized then that Marcus had risked everything for her, not for reward, not for recognition, but simply because it was the right thing to do. You protect without thought of yourself," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "That is human strength, isn't it?" Marcus nodded, breathing heavily from the exertion. "Yes, we fight for others because we care, because protecting each other is what makes us strong." By the time reinforcements arrived, the intruders were subdued, their plan thwarted. The palace was secure, but the events left a lasting impression on Lyra. She understood now, fully and completely, that humans were not weak. Their courage, loyalty, and ingenuity rivaled even the most advanced Virelian warriors. That evening, Lyra sat with Caelrix and Marcus, reviewing the events. "You have taught me more than I ever imagined," she said, her violet eyes reflecting both awe and respect. "Humans are not just survivors, they are thinkers, leaders, and protectors. I underestimated your species, and I see now how wrong I was." Caelrix smiled faintly. "Princess, it is clear that you have learned the true meaning of strength. Humans possess qualities that Virelians cannot fully comprehend. Courage, loyalty, adaptability, these are their gifts." Lyra turned to Marcus. "And you are extraordinary among your kind. Your actions today and before have shown me that humans can achieve what even Virelians might not expect. I owe you my life and, more importantly, my respect." Marcus shook his head modestly. "I only did what anyone would do to protect someone in danger. That's all." Lyra's gaze was steady and unwavering. "No, it is more than that. You act when others hesitate. You lead when others falter. That is strength. That is humanity." The revelation settled deeply within her. She realized that her alliance with humans would not just be political or strategic. It would be a partnership built on mutual respect, trust, and the recognition of true strength. The events of the day had changed her. She no longer viewed humans as fragile or inferior. She saw them as equals, capable of shaping the future, capable of great courage, and capable of challenging even the mightiest of Virelians. Marcus, meanwhile, reflected quietly on the same truth. He had always known humans could be brave and inventive, but to see the admiration in Lyra's eyes, to witness the recognition of their potential, gave him a new sense of purpose. As night fell over Virelia, Lyra and Marcus stood on the balcony, looking out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. Together, they had faced betrayal, danger, and uncertainty. Together, they had proven that humans were not weak. And in that shared understanding, a bond was formed, not just between a princess and a soldier, but between two species, two worlds, and the hope of a future where courage and ingenuity could bridge the gap between differences. The story of human strength and resilience had reached a new chapter, but the galaxy was vast, and challenges remained. Lyra now understood that the greatest threats were not always obvious, and the greatest strength was often hidden in the hearts of those who refused to give up. The revelation was clear. Humans were more than capable, and Marcus Hale had shown her why. The next steps would test them further, but now, Lyra faced the future with newfound trust, admiration, and a determination to embrace the human spirit as an ally, not a curiosity. The real battle was only beginning. The sun rose over Vierlia, casting light over the towering crystalline spires of the palace. Princess Lyra stood on her balcony, her violet eyes scanning the city below. For days, she had reflected on the events that had unfolded, the betrayals, the attacks, and most importantly, the bravery she had witnessed in humans. Marcus Hale and his team had been stationed at the palace ever since the attempted coup. Their presence had reassured her, but it also reminded her of the fragile balance between trust and danger. She knew that humans had proven their strength, but the galaxy was vast, and threats could appear at any moment. "Princess," Kaelrix said softly, floating to her side, "today will be a decisive day. Lord Varanes has not abandoned his ambitions. The conspirators will make one last attempt to challenge your authority." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Then we will be ready. Humans have shown me what courage truly is. I will not underestimate them, or anyone again." Meanwhile, Marcus reviewed the palace's defenses. He and his soldiers had spent the night preparing, reinforcing entrances, establishing escape routes, and coordinating with loyal Vierlian guards. Every detail mattered. Marcus understood that this confrontation would be different from the training, simulations, or even the previous attacks. Real lives were at stake, and failure was not an option. Lyra joined him at the briefing table. Her expression was calm but resolute. "Marcus, I trust your judgment. I have seen humans face impossible odds and overcome them. Today, I want you to lead just as you did on Earth. Protect this palace, protect my people, and protect me." Marcus nodded. "Understood, Princess. We will act swiftly and decisively. Stay close to me at all times." The palace was quiet at first, but the tension was palpable. Courtiers moved nervously, guards patrolled with heightened vigilance, and every shadow seemed to hold a hidden danger. Marcus positioned his team strategically, ensuring that the princess would be protected no matter where the conspirators struck. Then, without warning, alarms blared. From hidden corridors and secret passages, the conspirators struck. Armed and determined, they sought to capture Lyra and seize control of the palace. Marcus reacted instantly, placing himself between the princess and the advancing threat. "Move!" he shouted, directing his team with precision. They fanned out, using the palace layout to their advantage, creating choke points and ambushes for the intruders. Lyra followed closely, her training with Marcus guiding her actions. She was no longer a passive observer. She anticipated threats, helped secure vulnerable areas, and assisted in neutralizing attackers when possible. The battle intensified. The conspirators were skilled and well-prepared, but Marcus' team was disciplined, resourceful, and fearless. Every move was calculated, every decision deliberate. They worked together seamlessly, protecting the princess while turning the tide of the conflict. At one point, a group of intruders attempted to flank Lyra from a hidden corridor. Marcus detected the movement immediately. He sprinted forward, intercepting the attackers and using his knowledge of human tactics to outmaneuver them. Despite being outnumbered, his courage and quick thinking kept Lyra safe. "You continue to risk yourself," Lyra whispered under her breath as she observed him, "even now when the stakes are higher than ever." Marcus met her gaze briefly, sweat and dust on his face. "It's not about me," he said. "It's about keeping others safe. That is strength." Lyra realized then that human strength was not measured in physical power alone. It was measured in courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to face danger for the sake of others. Marcus embodied all of these qualities. The battle reached a critical point when Lord Varanes himself appeared, attempting to confront Lyra directly. Marcus did not hesitate. He placed himself between Lyra and the would-be usurper, his stance unwavering despite the threat. "Princess, stay behind me," he ordered. "I will not let anyone harm you." Lyra nodded, trusting him completely. She watched as Marcus and his soldiers confronted Varanes and his most dangerous allies. The fight was fierce, but the humans' adaptability and strategic thinking allowed them to gain the upper hand. Marcus anticipated the conspirators' moves, setting traps and creating openings for his team to neutralize the threat. The humans worked as one unit, each member covering another, each action precise and purposeful. Finally, after a tense and exhausting confrontation, the conspirators were defeated. Lord Varanes and his followers were captured, their plans exposed, and the palace secured. Marcus and his team stood victorious, though battered and weary. Lyra approached Marcus, her eyes shining with admiration. You have done it again," she said softly. "I saw humans face danger, adapt, and prevail. You have shown me that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity are as powerful as any weapon." Marcus shook his head, modest as ever. "I only did what had to be done. Humans survive by protecting each other and by acting when others hesitate. That is all." Lyra smiled, her expression both relieved and proud. "No, it is more than that. Today you have proven that humans are not weak. You are leaders, protectors, and thinkers. You are extraordinary." Kaelrix watched silently, a faint smile on his face. "Princess, you have learned the truth of human strength. It is not measured by body or technology alone, but by heart, courage, and the will to act when it matters most." Lyra turned to Marcus. "I will remember this day always. You and your people have shown me what true strength is. I will not see humans as weak again. You are my equals and perhaps one day, my allies in shaping the future of this galaxy." Marcus felt a deep sense of pride, though he remained humble. "Thank you, Princess. Humans may be small and fragile in some ways, but our courage and loyalty make us strong. I am glad you see that now." The palace slowly returned to normal. Guards patrolled less tensely, courtiers whispered in awe of the humans' bravery, and Lyra addressed the court, acknowledging the heroism of the soldiers who had saved her and the palace. "I have seen the true strength of humanity," Lyra declared. "They are courageous, intelligent, and loyal. They have proven themselves worthy of trust, respect, and alliance. From this day forward, humans will be valued as equals, and their contributions will be recognized throughout the empire." The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus and his soldiers remained quietly proud, knowing that their actions had changed perceptions and built bridges between two worlds. That evening, Lyra and Marcus stood once more on the balcony, looking out at the city beneath a sky filled with stars. The palace was safe, the conspirators defeated, and the lessons of courage and resilience had been learned. "You have taught me much," Lyra said quietly. "Not just about humans, but about trust, bravery, and what it means to lead." Marcus smiled faintly. "We humans do not give up easily. We act, we protect, and we adapt. That is how we survive and thrive." Lyra's gaze lingered on him, filled with admiration and respect. "Then together," she said softly, "we can face whatever challenges the galaxy presents. Humans and Virelians working as allies, stronger together than apart." Marcus nodded. "Yes, Princess, together." In the days that followed, Lyra initiated reforms within the empire, promoting alliances with humans and recognizing their value beyond curiosity or politics. She worked closely with Marcus and his team, learning from their methods, understanding their strengths, and applying their lessons to Virelian strategy and leadership. Humans were no longer seen as weak or inferior. They had earned their place as allies, protectors, and partners in a galaxy full of possibilities. And Marcus Hale, the soldier who had risked his life for a princess, had shown them all what true courage looked like. The story of humans proving their worth spread throughout Virelia and beyond. Other planets, once dismissive of humanity, began to take notice. Humans were no longer just a fragile species. They were a force of resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering courage. Lyra and Marcus continued to work together, bridging the gap between their worlds. Their bond, forged through trust, respect, and shared challenges, became a symbol of what could be achieved when different strengths united for a common purpose. The galaxy, vast and full of unknown dangers, seemed a little less daunting with such allies standing together. And for Lyra, the lessons learned from a human soldier had changed her perspective forever. She looked at Marcus one last time as the stars shimmered above them. "You have proven that humans are not weak. You have shown me the true meaning of strength." Marcus nodded, his expression calm but resolute. "We will continue to prove it, Princess, together." The legacy was clear. Humans were strong not because of raw power, but because of courage, loyalty, and the heart to act when it mattered most. And through their actions, Marcus and the humans had not only saved a princess, but had forever changed the way Violia, and perhaps the galaxy, would see them. The story of humans, once underestimated, had reached a new chapter. And the bond between a princess and a soldier promised a future where courage, ingenuity, and respect could overcome any obstacle. For Marcus, for Lyra, and for humanity, the galaxy would never underestimate them again.